Welcome to the Safety Doc Podcast with author, radio host, and nationally recognized safety expert, Dr. David Perrodin. Join us each week as we discuss the best and most bizarre practices in safety preparation and crisis response. Follow Dr. Perrodin on Twitter at SafetyPhD. And remember, the truth will keep you safe.
Hey everybody, it is your good friend Dr. David Perrodin from down here in the North Star Recording Studio, wishing you well. This is just going to be a short one, and what I need to do here is get myself a little feedback. I turned off the settings here for echo cancellation on the mic because what I think it was doing was knocking down my gain a little bit. Nothing real significant. But yeah, so it's Mike. Hey, happy Thanksgiving back to you. So, yeah, I need to kind of reposition my, what in the world? There we go. Jeez. All right. So what I'm going to try to, I also want to change the mic here a little bit, not tonight, but I think I want to have the mic coming up. So if I loosen all of this, I can turn it and have the bracket down below and the mic coming up. So, but yeah, I wanted to get a sample here because, hey, it's Misty Mrs. Wayne. Howdy. So I've got my settings over here, and I was playing back the last couple shows, and the audio is very good. But I did notice that my audio I was having to bump up the gain a little bit. Not like I had to do with when I had the Yeti, I had to add more gain to that. But I'm trying to check here to see if this is coming through a little louder, and then I'll listen to it on playback, and then I'll actually go in and run it through one of my software programs to tell me how many decibels it's registering. It should be somewhere in that minus 16 range, right around there. And if it's, like anything greater than like minus 18, then my volume on the mic here, which could be like I'm not close enough to the mic, although I'm pretty close to the mic. I just looked at my settings over here and I adjusted the settings on the mic a little bit. So here's the dark tone. Here's the dark tone on the mic. And I don't like this. I don't like the dark tone as much. Dark tone. Here's natural tone. That's what I've been going with. Here's bright. So yeah, I don't notice a big difference between bright and natural. So just stick with natural right there, my natural. But yeah, otherwise, that's what I'm going to do. So I have a leaking bathtub faucet. And this thing is going at a pretty good rate. And it just in the last couple days. So I noticed, my wife pointed it out, but, so that faucet was installed in 2017 and it gets a lot of use. So it's the valve, right? So you got to replace the valve, but, and thankfully it's a bathtub, right? So even if more water comes out, it just goes down a drain, but then I got paid for it because I'm a city, water, but I'm like, holy smokes. So I need to get that addressed, pretty fast here, right? And we won't be, available. Who's going to be, coming out here, over a Thanksgiving and stuff. Again, it's not that critical unless it really starts to fail. But I'm like, that sucks. So, but thankfully, again, it just goes down the drain. But I kind of noticed, like in the last month, like I thought the handle, it was turning a little harder, and we've got kind of like a calcified. We don't have the best quality of water. It's very mineralized. So stuff like that really takes a hit. Happy Thanksgiving, Mike and Misty. So that's something. It's the Kentucky Batman. Look at that. Thanksgiving to that guy. So yeah, I'm having to get that figured out. I'm up to episode 58 that I've backed up now. And so that is all going well. It's a slow process because the early shows weren't very long, and the older shows more recent shows, get longer. So then you're downloading 1.5 gig off of YouTube. And even though I have pretty good download speed, YouTube doesn't facilitate fast downloads. So, it might take 2 hours to download a podcast. The audio downloads just like that, like a minute. But so it's being rebuilt. It's getting there. It's Jim. So yeah, just want to say hi to everybody. And I'm trying to check out the audio because I'm running this without echo cancellation. And I think I'm just fine without echo cancellation. What I was reading is it tends to bring, I guess if you're interviewing people, maybe that would be one reason to throw it on. And I don't know if you can put it on while the show's going. Audio. Yeah, I guess you can. I'm not going to do that, but what is this? No, I don't want to do that. So, okay. So yeah, that's what I'm working on right now is to just get a take off of this and to see, does it sound good? So how's it sounding? As far as volume. So look at that, it's Jim. Does it sound a little louder, maybe a little fuller? Because this is the first time I've ever run this mic without echo cancellation. And from what I read is you don't need to run echo cancellation on this mic unless you're getting feedback loop through. So if I had, it's coming out of the speakers or the headset or something like that. So yeah, well, good. Yeah. So I think what I think is it's going to be a little bit better than what it was before. And again, this microphone's great, but the echo cancellation software. So because this is condenser, it's a dynamic mic, not a condenser, right? So the Yeti would pick up more background noise. So if the furnace, fan kicks on or something like that would be heard in the background on the Yeti. But for this, there's really nothing else down here. And as I'm speaking, right, there's the wall's quite a ways away and everything's kind of angled. I don't hear any type of echo. So I don't have the sign on. There we go. I'm going to leave that remote on top of my phone so I remember to shut the sign off. So what I need to do is to run through and check this. But yeah, so I've got the leaking tub faucet, so that's kind of crazy. Anyone seen Bacon? Actually, no, not since he was in Monday's show, but I haven't seen him. I'm not sure what I'm going to do for the next show because I do want to do a premiere for a show for school safety. I've roughed it out a little bit of here are the 6 objectives every school should have for their school safety drills. And I want to put a little time in and do overlays and, I might even put in some stock, photos and stuff like that. But, there's 6 points, boom, 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 that I have. And I always present these in my class and they're always very popular. And, but my kids, their schools had, the intruder exercises and I'm okay, so there's a message sent home, this will be tomorrow. And it was earlier this week, but I'm it's Man Against the Masses. And, that just tells us it's going to happen, but it doesn't tell what you're measuring, your communications, your assets, measuring your perimeter. How do you set a perimeter as the police department, right? How do you maintain a perimeter? When parents are going to, be showing up at a school. And so all of these things, I want to put together in a very good podcast that would be I would totally go in and edit and render everything. It's Taco Syndicate. Been looking forward to this since you're on DLD. So, Taco Syndicate, thank you. This is not a big show tonight. This is more kind of a calibrating the mic, but yes, thank you for being here. And hopefully you'll subscribe to the channel. I would appreciate that. Taco Syndicate. Look at this. It's our good friend Taco Syndicate. So, yeah. Awesome. So very, very cool. So yeah, I got a haircut yesterday, and so that's good. It's quite a ways until like she's going to be able to get me back in for a haircut, so it'll grow up pretty long, and it grows pretty fast in winter too. But I guess that's a good thing to have longer hair in winter. It'd be cold here, so so it's Taco. Taco, have you subscribed? So please do, and everybody. So yeah, it's fun to go into the YouTube analytics and see. Well, it's actually fun to go through the old shows, like the shows I did 5 years ago, and 30 people watched, and I'm like, and because I can see how I evolved the shows. Like I got, a dedicated intro and then a different intro, and then I started to add in some graphics, and it's kind of fun to see then when I start to level the audio, and so all these kind of progressions through the first like 50 shows, big learning curve, but that's kind of fun to go back on those. But yeah, it's neat to check the analytics and see where the shows, what shows are being listened to. And so I think I can see not so much on the YouTube side, but on the Podbean side, where all of the shows are in audio, what happens is someone will be in like Thailand, right? And they'll find out about the show and they'll download then every episode. So you'll have that happen during a day. It'll be like, 200, and there's 200 downloads that happened today. But then you go and look and it's like every episode was downloaded. So that tends to be how people find the channel. If they have an interest in it, then they go back and not so much like people in the US, although that has happened, but people in other countries will go and download like the entire set on Podbean. So I'm actually glad like I kept that Podbean. I originally had SoundCloud, which I probably should have kept. I got rid of SoundCloud because they were potentially going to file for bankruptcy, and I didn't want to deal with all that. And they got bought out or whatever, and they're just fine. So Podbean's okay. I'm not overly thrilled with it. Like everything SoundCloud did, Podbean, I don't know. Anyway, I should have just kept SoundCloud. I think Podbean actually was a little cheaper, but so yeah, I've been reverse kind of building my podcasts by going and downloading through YouTube and then pulling off of Podbean all of the leveled audio. So anyway, it's going slow, but it's going good. So but yes, that is going good. I want to do a show also on something called the a Totten Trust. So just to explain what that is, it's not financial advice because you don't buy a Totten Trust, but this is something I've been aware of for quite a while, and I have most of my things set up in a Totten Trust format, and so basically a Totten Trust is when you have your financial holdings, or it could be your property, your deed and stuff like that, and you put it on what's called a payment on death or a transfer on death, TOD or POD. So you name someone who's going to benefit it. And usually, for me, like if I was to be taken out while I'm biking, right? Someone swerves and accidentally, that's the end or whatever. But if there is, if so, a Totten Trust payment on death, then your whatever you have designated in that goes around probate, and the people will get it immediately. So, like for me, it's just like my family. But it is a really slick thing, and it's super easy to do. You don't need a lawyer. Like bankers know how to do it, and when I go in and I just ask for any of the stuff that I have. But yeah, so It came up today, though. I was meeting with a potential new bank that I might be working with, and they were talking about the Totten Trust. I'm like, we talk the same language. So Ron Wien always talks about Totten Trust, but I'm like, yeah, it's a big thing to know about. So pay on death, yeah, yeah, kind of. Any thoughts on a future book? So Ron, depends if I get 26 reviews for Velocity of Information. Mrs. Wayne, but yeah, well, thanks for the question. Yeah, there is. I actually have the title for it. It would be School of Errors, Rethinking School Safety. No, that's the book I've published. So I'm not gonna write a book that I already wrote and published. That would kind of be meaningless. School Safety in America: Rhetoric versus Reality, and that was the title I gave to my PBS presentation in 2019. And actually, you can't copyright a title. I don't know if you guys knew this. You cannot copyright a title of a book. But anyway, the PBS, it's not it's not like I have to get permission to use the title of my PBS presentation, because the book is not the PBS presentation. It's just I'm just using that title. And it's not bringing forward the PBS presentation into book format. But I like the title. Like, I liked it on PBS, and I like it now. And I roughed out the outline, the first outline for it. So I've got to figure out where I've got it, which I know where I've got it. I've got a drive where I've kind of got all these creative ideas. But which is the same, Rhetoric versus Reality. So that was my PBS presentation. And it is a good second line title. Yeah, no, it really is. Like, that's where, Velocity of Information, Human Thinking During Chaotic Times had a good, second line. And what I'm going to do is, so now I'm starting to consult again, right? I signed the contracts, and I've got 2 meetings on Monday. So the thing for me is, I actually when I wrote the first 2 books and I did the first 2 PBS presentations, I was really busy with other stuff. My first PBS presentation, I was working full time as administrator. I was in the middle of my doctoral program. It's Vanessa Kitty. I was, was just doing a lot. And then, so both of the books were kind of written at times when I was very busy. And right now, I think that would actually work pretty well. Like, I just, I'm pretty organized, when I'm forced to be pretty organized. I guess that's what I would say. So, yeah, I definitely, know I can, and it wouldn't be as intense with the citations that Velocity of Information was, 400 and, 71 endnotes. So, but yeah, it's a weird thing. So with a book, right? And I don't know if I want to stick with the same publisher. That's another thing. So I'd have to put it together. There's a proposal, and that's usually about 15 pages, and you have to look at other books in the field. And now, granted, because I've been published twice and once, right, in school safety and been on PBS, it's not as high of a barrier. It's not a big hurdle to get somebody's attention, when you are published. And the fact that the 2 books have been successful, you're kind of, you can do a third. If the third doesn't turn out well, then it might be the last. Probably would be, but at least you get that. But yeah, so that's another thing, is I'm not sure. I'd want to stick with the publisher of the first 2 books. I am contemplating moving that out there a little bit, but there's a downside to that also. So, the publisher knows me, and that generally has worked out pretty good. One of the reasons to switch publishers would be to try to get the book a little more mainstream. My publisher's more library centered, right? And not like end display at Costco centered, but the other part is I do not want to sign a contract where I have a big marketing commitment, meaning that, you have to go on tour, you've got to go, to 12 states and do this and all that stuff. I don't want to do that. So yes, I promote my work, right? I do a lot with that and video, and interviews and all of that. But I do not want to be mandated to go into kind of a big tour thing. And that would really disrupt kind of the other stuff that I'm doing. So, but yeah, I think what I'm going to do is go to the library like on a Friday and go and sit down, and not this Friday, I guess I could, but I'm not going to sit down with the outline and just keep thinking and working through the outline. When I did both books, the biggest part for the books was the outline, probably 3 to 6 months just to do the outline. Because when I do the outline would be very long and detailed, because I'll be like, here's the sources I'm going to bring in, here's the people I'm going to interview for like this, and this. And my books don't change a lot from when I put from when I put that together. The outline largely follows straight through to what the book is. So I'm more confident that I will do another book than I was probably a month or two ago. So I think it is going to be likely. So, but we'll see. I think now I'm kind of like, I'm not sure if the PBS thing is as likely, but that can change. There's a lot of work that goes into that PBS presentation too. I would not personally narrate my next book, even though it'd be school safety. I would have that narrated. I'm glad I narrated School of Errors, and that's the only way that book could get out there. But a professional narrator is really adds a lot to a book. So yes. So it's Eric Tang. Holy smokes. Welcome, Eric. Eric has, I think, the best financial channel out there. Eric, happy Thanksgiving to you. It's not an official show here, but thanks for stopping in. So yeah, check out, Eric is probably following the show. He's subscribed. I'm subscribed to his channel. Eric Tang has this amazing channel where he talks about certificates of deposit, with banking and brokered CDs, different platforms, and just, I'm 51, right? And I've done a lot with investing over my years. Like I said, I was 14 years old and I took out my first certificate of deposit. I went to the bank and had them take out my lawnmower money and my working at the cement factory next to my house, and mail it away in a cashier's check. And I got a certificate of deposit for 8% on a CD from Dorchester Bank. And so anyway, I knew a lot. And then I found Eric's channel, and my God, first of all, his presentation is spot on. He curates his content, his visuals. And Eric, really, it's you and his Diamond Nest Egg are the two best financial channels on the internet. And both of those are huge compliments, but yeah, please, anybody, just go in and find Eric's channel and subscribe. And yeah, it is, as I said, all of the things that kind of get murky and complicated with, terminology, in banking and in finances. Eric is there and he's like, boom, here's what it means. Here's what's happening. Here's, if you're going to do this. Again, it's not financial advice. He's not going to say, buy 12 shares of whatever. He's just taking the process and teaching you these terms and how the process works and how things like Treasury Direct work and brokered CDs and stuff. And I'm so thankful that he exists, because, to try to decipher this on your own, can be difficult. And if you, and other people that don't specifically talk in that language, right. they're not going to be able to help you out. So anyway, Eric, I'd love to have you on the show sometime. And I know the topic. Yeah, thank you for putting the link out there for Eric. Let me do that. So just a second here. Yeah. So what? There we go. So for Eric's, yeah. So I would love to have you come on and to talk about kind of in a safety area, kind of like consideration of like financial safety. What in your observations and as you built your channel, what questions do you tend to get from people? Like what scares them about their own money investing, right? Again, we're not going to lay out, to people, here's what to invest in, but the process, right? Let's talk about the process. Is it that two-step authentication scares people, right? That maybe if they're older and they're not used to using cell phones and now that barrier is there. The Treasury Direct website can be kind of scary. Whoa. So, all right. I don't know if my audio is still there or what just happened here. So, all right. We should be all right. Let's see if we've got this. What in the world? I don't know if you guys can hear me. All right. Oh, okay. You can hear me. Okay. I had this happen before. So let's audio, but no video. Yeah. So I've got video edit in. So let's do settings again. Camera. All right. So look at this. Oh my God, we got through it. So I don't know what that was all about. See, that's the software part of this that bats like that competes. There's something weird with like I'll be into something and StreamYard, and then it'll say like recognized, the video and from UCAM 10. So I think that UCAM 10 is really messing with things, which is what I use to record like my university lectures and stuff. But so I don't know if Eric is here anymore, but he's a great guy and he runs, yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's amazing on YouTube when you find people that are able to put together such incredible content. And again, spend their time to curate it, to put together the content, to put together, outline the graphics, to take screenshots. I mean, all of this. And so again, in the financial realm, if you're talking about more, type of fixed investments, which that's kind of my area that I live in, just personally. But Eric Tang and then also Diamond Nest Egg, Jennifer. So those are the two channels. They're extremely educational. They're vibrant. They're well organized, and I'm just like so yeah. So I want to just listen and interview Eric about how he got into putting together his channel, because his channel is amazing. So I want to hear that story of what motivated him to do that? What's been most rewarding? And what are things that he's kind of learning that are brand new? And Eric today has me with my banker, and we're talking about payment on death. So it's called a Totten trust. And, this might be something we could talk about together on a show. It's a Totten trust. Anybody can do it. You can do it on a bank CD. You don't need a lawyer. All you have to do is say, and I've done this myself, so I'm talking from experience. I do this on all of my certificates of deposit. If you put payment upon death, the bank puts that on. It now not only goes around probate, but your FDIC insurance of $250,000, if you list 2 or more beneficiaries, increases up to a potential of $1.25 million. There's actually an article, and let me share the article out so there's understanding of that. You don't have to have qualified accounts, and this POD. I'm telling you, man, I've found it to be really helpful. It's just called the Totten Trust. It is literally 1 minute more when you're at the bank, and there's nothing binding with it. There isn't a fee, anything like that. But let me find this. And so, Eric, you got to get a sign in the back like that Safety Doc sign there that lights up. That was crafted by a fan of the show, Coop. And Coop made that. It's about 1.5 inches deep. It's out of metal plasma cut, and then he painted it, put the LEDs in, and just a gift to the show here for the Safety Doc. So let me find, I'm just going to put that article out there. So here we go with the Totten Trust article. So hopefully this will link out. But yeah, I think that would be a neat thing. I mean, we could talk about it if you're on my show, or you could talk about it too, Eric. But right there is that it's a very straightforward article about the simple method for increasing your $250,000 FDIC coverage. Eric talks about this with brokered CDs because that allows you to also have different CDs, which through different institutions that are FDIC insured, so you can increase that way too. But here's another option for doing, and people don't know about this. Nobody ever tells you about POD and Totten Trust. And I learned about it from a relative like 10 years ago. And then I was like, okay. And it just makes a lot of sense. Yeah. The payment on death, it goes around probate. And so the article talks about that too. And the banks know, just say, put it on POD, it shows up on the certificate. But it also changes your FDIC insurance. And I went into the FDIC.gov website today, and I was putting it all in with the POD, the Totten Trust. And yeah, so if you had hypothetically $300,000 of POD that was to 2 beneficiaries, it shows up as being insured for $300,000, not $250,000. So it's pretty amazing, right? But again, one of these things that nobody tells you. So Jim, you can use POD. I use it at my credit union. I use it at my credit union. I also use it at my bank. I actually use it for everything. I use it for property. I use it for basically any asset that I have is put together on a POD. So you'd have to work with probably a lawyer, but you could actually put your house on a POD. Now I'm married, so the house would just automatically go to my wife, but you can still do some of those things. So, but yeah, any other property that you had, any land, 40 acres or something like that, you could just put it as a POD. So it's really awesome stuff. But again, I mean, no one really talks about that. So yeah, I had a relative who, when they passed away within the last few years, they had POD'd everything out. Or that Totten Trust all on their own. They had done that, and everything they had just went right around probate and went right into, they had a will, and they had different people named to inherit types of things. And then as the PODs were exercised because this person had passed. It just went straight through. So anyway, kind of neat stuff. So yeah, we've got the wide view here of the studio. 4D monies. I don't know. So actually it doesn't. The studio doesn't look bad. I don't have any lights on today. So this is more of a show to test my audio. So I think Eric, I don't know I think you have the Shure MV7B. I think you have the cardioid, or you have the XLR mic version of this. I think you do. But what I did is I posted, I had the plosives also when I started with this mic, which I think is an awesome mic. And it was literally a $15 change of the filter. And it fits right on. So you probably, if you've done that already, but it's made for this and also the 7B. And wow, like that, boom, took care of the plosives immediately. And I'm a speech language pathologist, right? So I have to have the P's and the sounds and all of those ready to go. But yeah, so I'm really thrilled, with this microphone. I think if I was doing even more, I would probably go on an XLR side and maybe like with a mixer and stuff like that. But so if I became as popular as Eric, I would consider that. But honestly, his stuff is great though. And, so Jim and you guys, I mean, if I put it up there as my post-it, Ron, thank you for sharing that. But Eric, you deserve this. You really do, because, the people you help, and then if, read through your own comments, right? Like your comments are people who, again, you've thrown them a life buoy because, it's complex processes and terminologies, but, you're taking, again, this and putting it and giving the examples and the visuals. So many people go heavy on the audio presentation and they leave out the visuals or the screenshots. You don't. You understand that. Like you've got that down perfect. Like, to look at your channel, that's like the model to share with other people of saying, here's how to bring all of this together, and the duration and the editing. And it helped me out. Again, I'm 51. I've, securities and bonds and CDs and share certificates and treasuries and all of that. And I can tell you from the moment, the moment I found Eric's channel and watched a few of his videos, and I had one question for him, a question on the treasury coupon rates, which he clarified for me. But I was like, I know. It's like a masterclass. I learned so much and of course now I've been watching and consuming videos, and he does a nice job of linking back, saying I did a video earlier about this if you want to go and check that out, but go and get the playlist. And we don't spend enough time becoming financially literate, right? And just keeping like at kind of our A game, keeping exercise with finances. So what would it mean for each of us if we spent 1 hour a week learning something about finances that's relative to us, like watching Eric's channel, or taking your own time to go online and compare, like here are some certificate of deposit rates from NerdWallet, right, where they compare across the country. So you get a trend, like, the 36-month, rates seem to be going up. But, we practice at other skills, right? If we want to get really good at it, practice at basketball, or if you want to stay fit, if you want to stay physically fit, you're going to be out walking a day, you're going to go to the gym now and then. But to be financially fit, we just assume that it's other people are looking out for us. Maybe they are, or like you assume it's too difficult and you have to hand it over to somebody to manage it for you. And even in that case, if that is the fact, I still think you need to understand what they're doing. Like, if I take my car in and something's wrong with it, I'm having a pretty good discussion of, well, what's actually happening here? Well, this part and this and versus just like handing you off and saying, fix it. So I think that's the part, just take some time, because money is so critical to everything right now. Well, it's always been, but right now with inflation, and needing to be very aware of what is the potential for our dollars and just the kind of a macro side of economics. I've always been amazed by that because, people kind of some people approach finances as very intimidating and overwhelming. Actually, I watched a documentary on this and it said as people gain more money, right? Not necessarily wealth, but they actually become much more afraid of investing. And they were interviewing different people to that extent, and not that that's like a certain, but like that happens. So again, I don't usually give out channel endorsements. I think Dan from Allegedly, I love that channel. He's extremely organized. And Eric and Diamond Nest Egg with Jennifer are the three where I'm like, if you go there, you're going to be taken care of. Like, these people do their due diligence. This is terrific stuff. So yeah, you're not going to get hit up with Jeremiah Babe trying to tell you he's moving. All right, Eric, sounds like you have a terrific meal plan for tomorrow. So thank you for stopping in. We'll be in contact sometime, maybe over the next few weeks. Everybody, it's pinned in the top chat here. It's pinned. That's Eric's channel. Absolutely essential for finances. He is phenomenal. Thank you so much, Eric. So yeah. Wow, it's kind of like having a celebrity visit. It's like, oh my goodness. Look, just had a celebrity stop in the chat here. So it's like the first time Ron Wayne was here, and Jim. So appreciate it. So yeah, I've been finding, I guess he's like, I'm going to marinate some chicken and buttermilk overnight for the family tomorrow. That sounds great. Good. So right there. Yeah. Jim, glad that you did that. Oh my goodness. A pipe broke. Wow. So yeah, I've never had, well, I shouldn't say that. When we moved here, the faucet for the farmer's sink downstairs, I guess we'll call it, was leaking quite a bit at a pretty steady flow, like when we moved here 20 years ago. And that's kind of what the bathtub faucet is doing right now. So I don't like the fact that I don't have a shutoff on that. And I'd really have to shut the water off to the house, which I'm not going to do. And again, it just goes down the drain, but it's just money going down the drain. But I'll be on the horn. I emailed the plumber who put it in and had done some other work for us last year. He didn't get back to me today, but not that I would necessarily expect that with Thanksgiving coming up. But if I can't get a hold of him by, like Friday or Saturday, I've got to get on my horse and ride on Monday and get somebody. Thankfully, because it's after 2015, Delta, all of their bath cartridges are the same. They're bath faucets. So this is 2017. So we're good. Like, that is a pretty easily accessible part. So from that standpoint, but it's not the most easy to deal with in kind of getting it. So I'm not going to mess with that. But so yeah. So what do people have planned for Thanksgiving? So what I have planned is I typically try to never wear blue with blue because that's just weird. But I have my gray sweatshirt washed it today. So, but actually I've been kind of thinking even like what I'm going to wear tomorrow for Thanksgiving. And because I don't really have a good lineup for winter for anything that's formal or semi-formal. Formal I don't have semi-formal. So I don't, well, I kind of know. I think I'm going to do an orange t-shirt with a black fleece and jeans. Like, we don't have a super formal gathering, but I think like orange conveys Thanksgiving-ish, right? And its contrast. I know I'm way overthinking this, but yeah, that's what I think I'm going to go with. So, but yeah, so, oh, Solitude is asking, any snow? Just a little bit that's left. And it was in the 40s today, low 40s, although it feels cold. And the studio temperature has dropped in the last week. And once that happens, it will not warm up down here until like middle of April. So anything I do down here, I've got a fireplace, the electric fireplace, which isn't cheap either, but but it feels cold. And I don't know if that's because it's been a little more humid, but tomorrow will be in the low 40s. So like for weather, the next couple of days are going to be okay. My whole idea, I think next time I'm going to do a video on this. I can't stream it because it's too far back in my house. But when I went out back the other day, because it was 3 degrees overnight. So we have wood ticks in the back. So I didn't want to go out when it was like 45, but so it was 20 the next day. So I knew like, well, wood ticks would probably be frozen, be dormant anyway. But, and that's when I, chopped up all those limbs and basically sticks and made kindling. And man, does that work well. And I had a couple limbs off of my birch that I had back there. And so I'm going to do that again. Like, we get another cold day. I'm going to spend some time back there with I just do it with either a small handsaw or I have a big pruners. And, so the stuff is really like, probably not more than like a half inch. And there's a lot of dead limbs back there that I'm just going to cut and box up. And it's really peaceful, like to be back there in the woods and doing that. But I was watching a firewood channel, and I didn't know how many of those existed, but there's a ton of them, because I heat with firewood. But the one guy was saying, people overlook like how awesome it is just to have dried sticks to, get your fire going. And I was like, yeah, like that has made a big difference. So one year I bought some kindling, and it was a place that does like end molding and stuff like that. And so really the stuff was never treated. It was just kiln dried. And these were like the cut off ends, and it was pretty reasonable, but the stuff was like so good. I was like picking out pieces. I was just building stuff out of it. I'm like, this is not stuff you would burn. Like 75% of this I can repurpose into building stuff. So yeah, that was kind of funny. So anybody else out there, anybody got anything going on? So says we have 8 watching, but we have nobody commenting. I got to check my, so yeah. Comments, any comments? So I'm going to check this. So Mike, let me see here. Mike, all right, I'm taking you off. Have a happy, safe, blessed Thanksgiving. Safety Doc and everyone joining this evening. Catch you all on the flip side. Mike, appreciate it very much, buddy. Yeah, so thank you. Again, this show, just give everybody a shout out. I am thankful. Wow, look at, first of all, in back, the sign from Coop. Thank you, Coop. Thank you, Mike, for, when the show's on, you and Jim and Ron Wayne and Solitude and, Bacon and we can just go down and now Eric, but people stopping in the show, but especially, Mike and Misty and Ron, I mean, you guys and Jim, very dedicated, to the show and the content and supportive of my work. And you're really like fast when the bots come and try to, put crazy stuff into the channel. So I appreciate that. It's motivating to me because, right, when I have a guest, like the last 3 shows have all been guests, and to have people in and asking questions and things like that. Otherwise, you're just doing a show and say, is anybody listening? Is anybody going to watch this, or is this a topic that is interesting? And so I appreciate that. And, you've motivated me, right, to change the back of the studio and kind of modernize and showcase the studio a little bit more. So I really appreciate that. But you've really been great to me, as I kind of had a reflection as I was going through and downloading the old shows, and I'd be like, oh, well, here's a show that got like 30 views, and was new. But I'm like, just how things have changed, since those early shows of 5 years ago, and the people I've got to meet, and got to know through this, and and some of the fun stuff we do, Ron Wayne, the Kentucky Batman. But you really are, all of you are awesome. I appreciate that a lot. Some is going to, oh my goodness, Ron, you had a funny Halloween one. So I think your Thanksgiving one, oh my goodness. Wow. So, oh my goodness. Well, cool. So I appreciate you guys. Yeah, Ron is saying we appreciate you, Doc. I've learned a lot coming to your stream. Well, thank you, buddy. Thank you. So, yeah, it's been good. It definitely, I feel like I'm learning. I'm connecting. We're doing some great content on the show, and it's always. Yeah, and it's always great. Like after the Legal Man was on, who has this massive following, he does like fan meetups where people will drive hundreds of miles, and like after he was on the show, he's like, boy, like great questions from people, and that's what the show about citizens arrest. You guys just had these questions, and he was like pulling out of the chat, and he got a hold of me the next day. He's like, I want to come back on the show, and then like after I said, absolutely. And then like 2 days later, it's like, again, I want to be back on the show. Like, and I'm like, yeah, we will do it. Like, but we'll focus in like on dash cams and Ring doorbells. Like, let's do that. Like a yes or a no. And then, from the attorney side of it. But like, that's great because, right, no one's going to do that if like your show, or if they didn't appreciate it, or if they're not interacting with the chat, if they don't feel that the chat is valuable. So he was just like, that was so great. So I'm like, you got to meet the Kentucky Batman. He's like, I want to go to one of those meetups sometimes of the Kentucky Batman. I'm like, it's in a cave in Kentucky. There's various caves. There's a lot of caves in Kentucky, but I said, it kind of goes cave to cave. And you got to register in advance. But I said, it's a great time. But yeah, you have to crawl through. It's not like dangerous, but sometimes it's the Kentucky Batman, the meetups are like 700-800 feet back in a cave. So I'm like, gotta dress appropriately for that. So not necessarily temperature, but like your clothing's going to take quite a beating from that. So yeah, wear denim. So very cool. All right, everybody, I am going to sign off for the night because I do want to play this audio back and run it through my analyzer to see where the gain is coming in. Again, for audio, for podcasting, you should be at minus 16 decibels. So minus 16, if you're minus 20, that's softer. If you're minus 10, that's very loud. That would be too loud. And YouTube would like knock that off, and they would put you closer to minus 16. And if you're like minus 10, like your gain would be like way too high, and all this would be clipping. So when I would speak louder, it would just clip, and it would be bad. So it's this whole thing of trying to figure out this mic does a really good job anyway of like putting your gain where it needs to go, but I want to get it calibrated really close, because then when I do the podcast and I run them over to audio, it gives just even better audio if you're really, really close. In the first few shows I was like minus 16 on this, and then like the last two, but I had on the guest. I think the guests throw off the audio a little bit. So because I think when it takes in the guest audio, and if their audio is not level, then I don't have a way on my side to kind of check that out. But so that's why I wanted to do this solo, and I also want to take the echo off because I just don't think it's necessary. Whoa! I just heard that echo came back. So, Misty Mrs. Wayne, I swear, if I knew someone who could draw, I would pay them to make a Kentucky Batman comic. Oh my! Wouldn't that be funny? Coop said the logo of a bat with a gun, and then I forget what was in the other hand. Like I can already see the logo like coming together. But the Kentucky Batman, that would be a good comic. Like it could either be a book or it could be a strip of, the adventures of the Kentucky Batman. And yeah, boy, I'd have to think about how that would come together a little bit. But like the first one could be like it's a picture of the Kentucky Batman. And he's firing one of his pistols on the range, which is from his video. You'd have to do this in cartoonish form, and then the second one is the other one. The person says, "Man, like your podcast audio is amazing," and then the next one he goes, "Of course, I'm the Kentucky Batman." So like what? I mean, it's a compliment, right? But it's like I'm also the Kentucky Batman, so like of course it's going to be awesome. But so I remember, Ron, I was telling you that. I'm like, I have rarely heard a firearms channel where the percussion doesn't hit a limiter on the audio. Not that I'm some great audio expert, but you've got the best audio for firearms channel that I've ever heard. And so like, I don't know how you do that or how that whole thing comes together. Your video is awesome too, but like, I think the audio is harder to get, and you've got it. So like that, again, it immediately stood out when I was kind of new to your channel, and I'm just like, holy smokes. I'm like, what's the channel? People are like, what's the channel about? I'm like, it's really good audio. It's a channel about good audio, percussion like drums, not percussion like firearms. So that's the whole show. I'm like, no, there's more. There's more to it. I'm like, just appreciate it though. It's like when, you're walking through and you're like, just appreciate this, appreciate the forest, right? Don't try to analyze it. This is just, well, how does he do it? I'm like, how did Da Vinci do paintings, right? I mean, how did Michael Jordan, win game 6 and score 4? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. He's Ron Wayne, like the people try to analyze it. I'm like, I think they do it because they try to like emulate it, which is awesome. But I'm like, it's Ron Wayne, so that's the magic of Ron Wayne. So it's kind of like he's a firearms equivalent of Michael Jordan, maybe. I'm just trying to give people like the understanding when I talk to them, when they talk to me, but I'm like, yeah, you can play basketball, right? But you can't be Michael Jordan. Like I play hoops, right? But so anything like I would do, like firearms related channel, you could be like, you could do that, right? But boom, people are going to pay the tickets for Ron Wayne, which they should. This guy's awesome. You got to have that exemplar. You got to have that primacy, that person to set the edge. You're like, whoa, and you just recognize how awesome it is. I've had a lot of people, they jump scare if they were wearing headphones. Well, yours is, it is. It's really balanced, and it goes from a floor, a decibel floor. Like your decibel floor is really low. So I would say it's like 70 decibels. minus 70, which is like super, super quiet. So you're hot, you're 70 to 12, maybe you're 70 to 14. See, I would guess, like if I had the raw audio and I was running it all through and analyzing it, your floor is about 70, and the highest your percussion gets is maybe 14, which is excellent. Absolutely. So it's going from complete silence to a crisp sound, but not where it hits a limiter. So, which is just amazing. Absolutely amazing. So, yeah. So it's really good, Ron. I don't know, just it's awesome. So, yeah, I don't have, like I said, I need to listen to this audio tonight and then, kind of figure out where I go from there. So I've got to have a plan on that tub drain. I think if it gets really bad, I'll just, I don't know. I don't know what I'll do. I mean, it'll get fixed. That won't go real long, but so. All right. Well, everybody, I'm going to wish you all a happy Thanksgiving here, and let's see. Do I have a Thanksgiving kind of exit? This is it's a deer antlers. Do I have anything Thanksgiving? Here's a Thanksgiving bird. Look at that. So there's some Thanksgiving lightning. Whoa. All right. Yeah, I don't. Cool. All right. Well, celebrate. Hey, is it Robert Ribbit Harrison? Oh my God. Robert, thank you so much. Happy Thanksgiving. The best thing on Thanksgiving is zero weight oil, right? So it's a good conversation, not only starter, but sustainer. You start talking about zero weight oil, everyone's like, whoa, they get in on the conversation. And then you start doing demos with zero weight oil, and it's just absolutely crazy, zero weight oil. So I am sold on zero weight oil. And then Robert's like, well, you know what? Take off the air cleaner. Like, let's run it. Let's just strip all the stuff down. Like, let's do a ram on top of the hood. So we're going to have air coming in. So the only downfall is your engine will only last about 5,000 miles. But the upside is your performance will be through the roof. And if you're running zero weight oil, you might be able to pull it off because the oil is going to be like super performing to give you that low friction, almost no friction synthetic, right? It's going to be working for you. But I am a synthetic oil junkie. Everything I run, from my weed eater to whatever, like that is all full synthetic, man. And what does it take to change out oil and weed eater? You take the screw out and you tilt it. It goes in a little can and you pour back in, just a tiny bit of oil and you're good to go. So like I have a quart of, but I think, Robert, like you have to, this is something I should probably do. Like I have a quart of full synthetic AMS oil, but I've probably had it for like 4 years, and I don't use much of it because I really a weed whacker. I mean, if I change the oil, once a week, it's not going to use that. So I don't know if that oil ever goes bad or for like what I'm using it for, if that's an issue. But I don't know. I would guess there is a possibility maybe of some of the stuff in the oil going bad. Jeez. I don't think so. I don't know. Anyways, zero weight oil. Our good friend Robert Ribbit Harrison. Happy Thanksgiving to you, buddy. So pesky ghost. All right. Well, take us out here, and I'm going to have. This is a ghost that lives at Ron Wayne's house, and here's Ron Wayne on the couch. And he's watching. He's watching TV, and sees a ghost, and here's his reaction, which is really typical Ron Wayne, having it together and also being courteous to ghost. So those two things are captured here. And then I'm out. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
Holy shit, a ghost.
Ooh.
Do you mind moving? Out of the way. You're blocking the TV.
Oh, shit. Sorry, man.
It's okay. Thank you.